the last few verses of chapter 39 in order to understand what is happening during this section of chapter 40 through 66. All right, in the verses, 6 and 7 of chapter 39 of Isaiah, this will help us to sort of, we have to understand this, class, in order to understand what's happening in these chapters. Behold, the days are coming when all that is in your house, talking to Hezekiah, and your father's house have accumulated until this day shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, says the Lord. And they shall take away some of your sons that will descend from you, whom you will beget, and they shall be eunuchs in the place of the king of Babylon. What has Jerusalem just escaped prior to this? Destruction. Sennacherib and the Assyrians. Now, what Isaiah is talking about here is about 170 or so years in the future. Well, actually, if my understanding of the dates are right, Jerusalem was seized in 3 different stages: 606, 696, and 586, when Jerusalem was destroyed. The temple, the city, the wall. But remember, you've got to remember this. God used the prophet Jeremiah to explain that they would spend 70 years in Babylonian captivity and they would come back. This is what these chapters are dealing with. As I understand this, there are 2 basic themes here: the return from Babylonian captivity and the coming of the Messiah. All right, now look at chapter 40 and the first verse. Very significant. And notice the tense of the words. Comfort ye, comfort my people who are, that's a question. Judah. Who are my people? Judah, all right, okay. Says your God, what's this now? Speak comfortable to Jerusalem. Well, what has he just said about Jerusalem? How can he speak comfort to Jerusalem when he's already told them they're going to be destroyed? Well, that's what these chapters are dealing with. All right, speak comfort to Jerusalem and cry out to her. Now listen carefully. That your warfare is ended. Isaiah, through obviously the Holy Spirit, is jumping ahead and giving us, or giving them, and in turn us, a record of what's going to happen between now and then. All right, let me see now. Where are we? Speak comfort to Jerusalem and cry out to her that her warfare is ended, that her iniquity is pardoned, and that she has received from the Lord's hand double of all her sins. That's exactly what he is dealing with throughout these chapters from 40 to 66. And class, I'll have to tell you again, you're going to have to read those chapters. I wanted to get that accomplished in the time that we were away, and I did. You have to read those chapters as a unit. I wish And I think I said this to you 2 weeks ago. Sitting here chopping it up breaks up the continuity. What I would like to do, but I'm not going to do, is sit here and read through about the first chapters 40, maybe through 42, uninterrupted. Well, I hope you can do that yourself, and I hope that you will do that yourself, because until you do that, you're not going to see really the flow that is here. That's my experience. Maybe you might be smarter than me, and hopefully you are. All right, what he does then, Laura?
When he says that she will receive double for all her sins, what does that mean?
Well, I would assume what happened during the 70 years of Babylonian captivity.
What was the double that she received?
I think it's the double.
I'm sorry?
What was the double that she received?
I don't know, unless... I don't know. I don't know how the idea of double, except it's just...
Sorry.
Well, where were they for 70 years, first of all?
Babylon.
What did they not have? The temple.
Right.
Where's that? Psalms, what is it? Psalms 1, where they could not sing because... 137? Okay. And remember, they were instructed when they prayed toward what? Jerusalem, the temple. That may be the idea, because their beloved city, their beloved temple has now been or will be flattened for 70 years. I don't know. That's the only thing I can understand.
I'm looking at a commentary on my Bible app, and it says the double refers to the double captivity, Assyria and Babylon.
Well, okay. Well, the northern tribes were taking. Okay, good. That could be.
I'm not saying it is.
Well, that's an interesting point. That the 10 northern tribes were taken into Assyrian captivity. And then later, the Judah, or Jerusalem, was taken into Babylonian captivity. But then, of course, the Assyrians then came, those that were in the Assyrian captivity came under the Babylonian captivity.
Right?
Yes.
I look at this a different way. It says comfort them, and then it says that her iniquity is pardoned, and that she has received from the Lord and double for all her sins. That after all this is through, they are going to be doubly rewarded.
Right.
Because
That's how
they
I
made
see
it
it.
through and they're back
That's how I see it.
to bring in the Messiah.
Okay, could be. Could be. Fine. That's what I want you to do. All right. Now, what he does here, we're not going to reread this. I hope that you will. He first.
Did he talk about double punishment, basically?
I'm sorry. Somebody have to help me translate.
Then he talked about being doubly punished, because he talked back over later on in 61. He talked about going to be doubly rewarded, basically.
Right.
That their possessions would be double, that their honor would be double. He's talking about the punishment here, the punishment that they
He thinks
received
it's the
before.
punishment.
Okay. I'm sorry, Paul. Y'all have to help me.
He thinks they're talking about the punishment to them. Double.
Okay.
I don't think it's.
Okay. That's fine. Nobody, what is interesting, what you guys have said, nobody said, this is it. This is what it means specifically. It could mean this, it could mean that. What is interesting now, he describes, and I realize, is there such thing as double prophecy?
Yes.
Well, certainly there is. What he is describing here in the first part of chapter 40, and we're not going to read this, was their returning from Babylonian captivity. And he discusses this a number of different times throughout this chapter. All right, now,
Frank,
yes, Don.
what Paul was, you couldn't hear Paul, so I'll help you hear Paul. Paul was referring to Isaiah chapter 61 in regards to this chapter, where basically the good tidings, the Messiah coming, the double reward is the coming of the Messiah.
Yes.
And it talks about in Isaiah 61 the good tidings, and it uses the word comfort my people again.
Okay.
So Paul Talbert was talking about that Isaiah 61 helps explain Isaiah chapter 40 in that respect.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay.
That's how I see it.
And we'll see this as we again proceed. All right, let's see. In verses 12, we're still in chapter 40. In verses 12 following, he is talking about the greatness of God, the assurance of what was. He does this repeatedly, over and over again.
Right.
As
Class, you cannot lose sight. Who are these people that we're talking about? That's not a loaded question. Who are they? Who are they?
descendants of Abraham.
The what?
Descendants of Abraham.
They are descendants of Abraham. They are descendants of the promise. Tell us, where are you? Where is he? Oh, there he is. Okay. Don't forget the big picture. Why did, as I read this and studied this, why did God have to bring the children of Israel back out of Babylonian captivity back to Jerusalem?
The promise.
Probably the promise. And what are we supposed to learn from history? Well, a lot of things, but particularly God is showing us when he makes a promise, which he did to Abraham in chapter 12 and verse 3, that promise will be fulfilled. You can bank on it. We're going to see that as we work through this further. God in his time is going to handle all the enemies that have stood in their way, even the Jews. That promise is going to be fulfilled. That's the bottom line, and that's what all this history is about. And sometimes I don't understand, and not sometimes, most of the time, I don't understand this. But when I keep the big picture, it becomes a little bit clearer. All right, now in verses 12 through along about, this is chapter 40, and we've read this, 12 through 17, he is talking about the power and the might of God. And then he brings up a constant problem that, yes, Judah had: idols. And in verses, let's see, in verses 18 through along about 20, he is talking about the idols and what they will not and cannot do. And then in chapter 40 and verse 21, which we've already read this. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Have you not been told from the beginning? Have you not understood what the foundation, from the foundation of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth. Not the pagans, not the idols, but he. He continues to repeat this. All right, then in verse 27,
Right.
we've read this, yes.
When he says it, that he sits above the circle of the earth, how did Isaiah know the world was round?
Well, of course, the only way he knew all of this was by divine inspiration. Right, right. This is just one, and one, you might remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, I paused on this. You guys may not have been here, and talked about this earth that we inhabit. The marvels of this earth, the precision of the rotation of the sun and the moon and the spin of the earth and all of this. This is what he's talking about. All right, then in verse 27, again, chapter 40, why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my just claim is passed over by my God. This was a complaint. This was a lack of faith. Why have you ignored us, so to speak? And then he responds in verse 28, chapter 40. We've read all this before. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, and so forth. Then look at verse 31. But those who wait on the Lord. Now, in the context, I made the comment 2 weeks ago, or whenever we looked at this. I have heard the scripture quoted many, many times, but I never understood the context. The context is, first of all, to Israel. Yes, you are going to go into 70 years of captivity. The city is going to be destroyed. But their response in verse 27 was, wait a minute, you're not even concerned with us. Then he says, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. What's he talking about in the context?
Those who come back from Babylonian captivity.
They're going to survive. They are going to survive the 70 years in Babylonian captivity. They're going to come back, but it's going to be patience on their part. Sound familiar? Do we understand everything that's happening? No. We have to be careful about this. All right, now, this is all review, class. We've read this. All right, now he simply is, in verse 40, chapter 41, the first part, he is simply calling the coastland, or the coastland. My understanding of that is everybody else, all the nations. Listen, wake up, pay attention, what's happening. And then I will raise one up from the east. This has to be, now it may not be clear right now, this has to be Cyrus, the king of Persia, who ultimately, you say, well, how do you know this? Well, read Isaiah, and then read the last chapter of Chronicles, which is that chapter 32, if I remember correctly, and the first chapter of Ezra. And he is called there by name. In fact, in chapter 44 and verse 28 of Isaiah, he is called by name Cyrus. I was thinking about that this morning. There are really 3 servants mentioned here. Israel was called God's servant. Why? Why? I was asking myself the question. All right, let me get to the other 2. The other one is Cyrus, and then the other one, of course, is the Messiah. Why was Judah called my servant? I'm not sure that I have the answer. I'm not sure that I know. Laura?
Wasn't Nebuchadnezzar also called his servant?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't Nebuchadnezzar?
Well, I mean, in this part of Isaiah,
Oh, okay,
in this 40 through 66.
sorry.
No, that's okay. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And Pharaoh was called my servant. Why was Israel called my servant?
They were supposed to be.
A servant usually serves its master, but how can you say, you know, Nebuchadnezzar was his servant because he did what, I mean, he didn't follow God, did he? Why was God was using him. God was using Judah, God was using Nebuchadnezzar, he was using Pharaoh.
Why was Israel called my servant? Who's going to come through Israel?
The Messiah.
The Messiah. The Messiah. That's my understanding of that.
I think God's
Okay.
plan, that was God's plan.
That's my understanding. All right, let's see now. Where are we? Okay, then, I want you to look at in chapter 41, after he makes this idea of one from the east, then he says in verse 4, who has performed and done it? Calling generations from the beginning, I the Lord, and the first, and with the last, I am He. This is all God's plan. It may seem to Israel, for example, to be sidetracked. But as we look at again and then he describes there. All right? Now, in verse 8, and you, Israel, are my servant. Jacob, whom I have chosen, the descendants of Abraham, my friend, from whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, so forth. This goes right back to Abraham. Teller's statement was right. Keep the big picture. All right, let's see now. Then he says in verse 11, starting in verse 11, he talks about, if someone read, let's read 11 through 13. Isaiah chapter 41. Someone read, please.
Behold, all who are incensed against you shall be put to shame and confounded. Those who strive against you shall be as nothing and shall perish. You shall seek those who contend with you, but you shall not find them. Those who war against you shall be as nothing at all. For I, the Lord your God, hold your right hand. It is I who say to you, fear not, I am the one who helps you.
All right, now this goes back again to that last few verses of chapter 39 of what he has told Hezekiah is going to happen. And the constant reference here to God has the power, not the idols. God has the power to carry out. All right? This continues on through 14 through 16. Again, the power that God is going to manifest through these people. It seems like 17 through 20, again, we've read this, is a description of their exile or coming out. Remember, this is some 100 and some maybe 100 or so 70 years before it happened. Do you remember, and I called this to your attention a couple of weeks ago, do you remember Isaiah 53? Yes, you've read it. You've read it and read it. But did you notice the tense of the words? Did you ever notice that? They're past tense. That is what is called by those way above my pay scale prophetic past. It was so certain to happen, it was written as though it already happened. And that's the same thing right here. All right, now in verses 21, let's see, 21 through 24, he is challenging the gods. All right, someone read 21 through 24.
Present your case, says the Lord. Bring forth your strong reasons, says the King of Jacob. Let them bring forth and show us what will happen. Let them show the former things what they were, that we may consider them, and know the latter end of them. For declare to us things to come. Show the things that are to come thereafter, that we may know that you are gods. Yes, do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and see it together. Indeed, you are nothing, and your work is nothing. He who chooses you is an abomination.
That's a pretty good challenge, isn't it? God is showing them through Isaiah what's going to happen many years later. All right, you pagan gods, you come on. You do the same thing. Show us what happened in the past. Show us what's going to happen in the future. Over and over and over again. All right, now in verse 25, I will raise up from one from the north. This is the same one that was going to be raised up from the east. What I understood, again, I don't know this myself by studying other way above my pay scale, is that Cyrus was born in the east, but when he was in power, he came from the north. This is not a contradiction. It simply complements one another. All right, let's see. We've studied that and read it. All right, now let's go to chapter 42. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Behold, my servant. And when I read this, I immediately put above the word servant a question mark. Who's he talking about? All right, someone read 1 through 4. 42, 1 through 4.
Behold my servant whom I uphold, my chosen one in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the nations. He will not cry out or raise his voice, nor make his voice heard in the street. A bruised reed he will not break, and a dimly burning wick he will not extinguish. He will faithfully bring forth justice. He will not be disheartened or crushed until he has established justice in the earth, and the coastlands will wait expectantly for his law.
All right, let's turn to Matthew chapter 12. Turn to Matthew chapter 12. As we have often mentioned in our studying, the best commentary on the Bible is the Bible. All right, let's look at Matthew chapter 12. And let's begin in verse 15. Matthew chapter 12. Well, no, let me see. Let's back up to verse 14. Then the Pharisees went out and plotted against him how they might destroy him. And when Jesus knew it, he withdrew from there, and the great multitude followed him, and he healed them all. Now, listen to this next statement. And he warned them not to make him known, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Behold, my servant whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he will declare justice to the Gentiles. He will not quarrel nor cry out, nor will anyone hear his voice in the streets. The bruised reed he will not break, and the smoking flax he will not quench, until he sends forth justice to nations, and in his name Gentiles will trust. That, of course, is a quotation from Isaiah chapter 42. Now, let me stop here for a minute. Now, this again, I'm speaking way over my head. But remember, the Old Testament was translated in about 250 BC from Hebrew to Greek. Okay? My understanding is that Jesus and the apostles quoted from the Greek, or what was called, help me, Septuagint, which means 70, the Septuagint version. So when you go back and you compare this to Isaiah chapter 42, it's not word for word. You can never translate from one language to another, literally word for word. I'll share a thought with you. I tried to take Spanish in one of my courses and failed it flat. Got a big F. Because the sentence structure is totally different than the English. You've got to think the language to learn it. I have a hard enough time with English, much less Spanish. And so I say that because there are critics who say, oh, wait a minute, this is not what Isaiah said. What translation are you quoting from? Now, let's go back to this. This is an interesting statement, a prophecy here. Let's go back and let's break this down. Isaiah 42, you with me? First 4 verses. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, my elect one in whom my soul delights. There's no doubt that this is referring to Jesus the Messiah. On at least 2 occasions, when did God say, not exact quoting, in whom my soul delights?
Jesus' baptism.
That is baptism and the Mount of Transfiguration, exactly. Matthew 3 and Matthew 17, if I remember correctly. All right, now, watch carefully. He will bring forth justice to the Gentiles. That's interesting. Because when this prophecy was made, what was the mindset of the Jews? We're it.
Yeah.
And everybody else is trash.
Right.
That's my words. But this, my servant, is going to bring forth justice to the Gentiles. Paul deals with this thoroughly in what? Romans chapters 9, 10, and 11. All right, listen carefully. He will not cry out nor raise his voice, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. What did we read here in Matthew? In verse, in Matthew 12 and 16? And he warned them not to make known him. That's the same point back in Matthew chapter 8. He told these people, don't say a word. Of course, what did they do? They went out and told it. That's interesting. He will bring justice for truth. He will not fail nor be discouraged until he has established justice in the earth, and the coastland shall wait for his law. What did he tell the apostles to do? To go where?
To all the world.
Go to all the world. And don't we read in several verses where the gospel was preached? Where? To the whole world in that first century. This is amazing. This is amazing. And let me see, the one point here. Verse 3, I'm sorry, I skipped over that. The bruised reed he will not break. Thoughts? The weak?
Jesus didn't hurt people.
Okay, I think that's it. He did not hurt people. And then he will bring, and the smoking flax he will not quench.
Christ's compassion.
Could be. How about those with minimal interest? There was a man, is it Matthew 10, Mark 10, maybe, I can't remember, where he told this young man that you are not far from the kingdom? If there was a spark there of interest, Jesus would not put it out, if you please. That's my understanding. To me, this is phenomenal, phenomenal.
Frank, also in that account, Jesus was very sorrowful when he would not turn to him. I mean, that showed his compassion. He was very compassionate.
Okay.
It says when he spoke with the rich young ruler, when the rich young ruler told him he had obeyed the commandments from his youth, it says Jesus looked on him and loved him. And that's why he told him what he needed to hear.
Who did he speak to with rebuke? I guess would be a word.
The religious leaders.
Yeah, those that knew.
Who knew better.
Right.
He also rebuked.
I remember there in John 11, regarding the resurrection of Lazarus, they knew that a marvelous miracle had been done, but if we let him go, we're going to lose power. Now, that's my phraseology. All right, now, let's move on, because this section now connects with what has just been said. All right, someone read 5 through 8. 5 through 8. Isaiah chapter 42, 5 through 8.
Thus says God the Lord, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread forth the earth and that which comes from it, who gives breath to the people on it, and spirit to those who walk on it. I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness.
All right, let's stop there for a moment. Several times there, who is the you? In the context, who is the you? Well, let me hold that. Betty, go ahead and finish reading. Then hold that in mind. You, your. Who is he talking about? Go ahead.
Verse 6, I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness and will hold your hand. I will keep you and give you as a covenant to the people, as a light to the Gentiles, to open blind eyes, to bring out prisoners from the prison, those who sat in darkness for the prison house. I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory I will not give to another, nor my praise to carved images. Behold, the former things have come to pass, and new things I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them.
All right, who is the you, the your?
Judah.
It have to be. It's got to be the servant in verse 1, who, of course, is Jesus, the Messiah.
Oh.
Now, what is interesting, class,
Wait.
is what he says in verse 9. Yes, Laura. In verses 6.
God says, I will take you by the hand and keep you. I will give you as a covenant for the people, a light for the nations. Jesus was the light. He wasn't given the light.
Well, you remember the Word became flesh.
Yes.
And in Philippians chapter 2, he emptied himself and became like a bondservant. I don't know if this is what he's referring to.
Referring to Jesus.
But verse 7 clearly says, as a light to the Gentiles to open the blind eyes. And isn't that even quoted in the New Testament?
All right, turn to Luke chapter 4. Luke chapter 4. Let's see now, where are we? Let's read, verse 16. Luke 4, beginning in verse 16. Somebody read, please.
So he came to Nazareth where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. And he was handed the book of the prophet Isaiah, and when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and recover the sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord." Then he closed the book, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of all who were in the synagogue were fixed upon him. He began to say to them, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing."
Wow, right there. Best commentary on the Bible
Is the Bible.
is the Bible. There it is. Right there. All right, now, time is just about out, but I want you to notice verse 9. It's quite interesting. "Behold, the former things have come to pass, and new things I declare before you spring forth." And the woman said, "I read that right." "And new things I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Sing to the Lord a new song, and his praise from the ends of the earth." Class, if you're interested, I want you to think about that. "Behold, the former things have come to pass, and new things I declare. Therefore they sprang forth, I tell you of them. Sing to the Lord a new song." Something's happened. Something has happened now. And what is it? It has to be when they return back from captivity back to Jerusalem. Study this very carefully. There is a transition here in verse 9. Very important transition. All right, and there's nobody back there to ring the buzzer, I guess. So I just keep on talking then. No. According to that clock on the wall, not on the wall, on the counter, it's time. This is phenomenal. I don't know whether I hope it's interested you. The making of our salvation is what it boils down to. That's what it boils. If you're interested in how Jesus became the sacrifice, then this ought to perk your ears. We'll pick up on this, Lord willing, next week.